Ron, Mr. Rosas, did you put the names in here?
Yes. I wrote it down. I wrote it down right here. This is Michael Khan.
Okay. All right. All right. Good evening, everybody. Today is February 20th, 2018. The time is 6:44 p.m. I call this meeting of the Ed Casas Independent School District to order. Mr. Peacock, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Board President Robert Smallstreet.
Present.
Board Vice President Chris Morales.
Here.
Board Secretary Robert Peacock. Here. Board Trustee Fernando Torres Jr.
Here.
Board Trustee Juan J. Ibarra. Here. Board Trustee Tony Barco.
Here.
Board Trustee Rolando Lozano. Board President, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Peacock. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. We can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And following after is the invocation. Mr. Barco, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Rocha, can you lead us in the prayer, please?
Yes. Heavenly Father, tonight as we gather here, we thank you for the opportunity to come together as a family. We ask that you guide our board members and Superintendent Mr. Cavazos as they make these important decisions for our district, especially our students. We ask that you continue to bless them and bless their family. We also ask you to bless everybody here gathered tonight. We ask that you bless our counselors as well that we're going to honor tonight. We ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Rocha. Mr. Gonzalez, do we have any public comments? Okay, we're going to move on to item 4, recognitions in honor of Counselors Week. Ms. Rocha?
Yes. We can come down, but before we get started, also want to say a few words. Tonight we're very privileged and honored. This month we honor our counselors in our school district, and we thank them for their caring, loving heart. As our children come to us, they come with so many different needs, and the counselor's role is to help reach out, touch the students, show them a kind, loving heart, and just guide them, especially at the secondary level with their academics and all their needs. So we're very privileged and honored to have our counselors. There's a few that couldn't make it, but we still recognize them. So counselors, thank you so much for what you do for our children in our district, which are very special. So this time we'll come down with
Very quickly, I'd like to just say a few words in recognition of our counselors. I think all of us understand, all of us know, our counselors are the individuals on our campus that our children really depend on. They're always there to nurture our children, guide them, help them in their times of need. I think all of you that have had experiences in the past when you were in school, you've always felt that way about our counselor or your counselor at the time, was that the counselor was always the person you could depend on. So I want to thank all of you, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for everything you do for our children. Thank you. And I don't know if any other board members would like to say anything. You don't want to say any words?
Mr. President?
I'm still here all afternoon. No, I just want to say I know most of you all, whether you were my counselor or my teacher or relatives or friends. So I just want to know that councils do play a very important role with our students, whether it's issues that they have in their lives, you know, they turn to you all and you kind of guide them and steer them and be that I guess you can show them, you know, the better way. And also those that when they have school issues as far as scheduling and I know that can be a lot of work and everything, but I just want to say thank you for everything you do for our students, and I know they appreciate it and we appreciate it as well. Thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and start by recognizing Vida Perez from the high school. Next we have Mr. Guadalupe Lima. Next we have Cynthia Briceño.
Mine is my favorite counselor, the Certificate of Appreciation Award to Erica Marie Tanguma.
Certificate of Appreciation Award to Vanessa Lee and Guerra.
This certificate of appreciation is awarded to Martha I. Portobos.
Why didn't make it either? Morena Elizondo.
This award goes to Ms. Catherine Emlada.
Next is Capillas Gomez.
The Certificate of Appreciation awarded to Rosalita de Leon.
No, Vasquez, María Elena Rodríguez.
Gloria Jean Arizmendi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Our next award is for Lee Pastico.
We're all in family here right now. And I have here, she's not present, but for recognition, Lizette Gonzalez.
All right, let's go ahead and move in. Gentlemen, would you step up? Right. There you go. 1, 2, and 3. One more. 1, 2, and 3. Perfect.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, for the record, I'm going to move up item D from the discussion and action items to right after section 4, or item 4. That is discussion and approval to host the Hidalgo County State District Court Initiative Courts in Schools. We have here present to speak on this item is Judge Geno Vasquez. Welcome, Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President, trustees. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And counselors, you may appreciate this. The ones who are remaining, it benefits our children.
They're coming back.
They're coming back?
Yeah.
So, the court school program, the Code of Criminal Procedure 42.025 allows me to bring my courtroom into the high school. It's not Judge Judy. It's not somewhere where it's a mock trial. It's the real thing. But the code only allows us to bring in cases involving alcohol or drugs. And that's it. Nothing else. So what's our major problem that we have with our kids in high school? It happens everywhere. I don't care where you go. The best of the high schools or the worst of the high schools. It happens everywhere. So it can be used as a deterrent, but also as an educational tool. And how do we do that? Do I want to be a prosecutor? Anthony Ortega is one of my lead prosecutors in my courtroom, and he's been involved in 2 of the programs with me already. So it's important that we do that. Do I want to be a bailiff? Do I want to be a court reporter? Do I want to be an attorney? What do you want to do? So it's a dual purpose that we have this program, and it's been highly effective. I've done it. No one's done it in the Valley. Judge Singletary, Judge Benincourt, and myself went over to Laredo, Webb County, and we saw this process. And we brought it down to the Valley. And I've spoken to some of you guys independently at different locations, and we've talked about this program, and you're very interested in this program. What's going to happen is this. We'll come in. In fact, I'll tell you this right now. If it's a counselor, I think the principal, I'm having a court in school this Friday at Pioneer High School. So it would be great if somebody could go there to view what it's like. You can go on my Facebook page. It's just an incredible experience. Individuals are going to come in there in handcuffs. And you have 50, 60-year-old men who are going to be going to jail. And you have 19-year-old little girls who are going to jail. And some get probation, some cases get dismissed. It's for these kids to see what's going to happen, what happens in real life, as opposed to at the courthouse, what do we get? All the good students that we go there unless they're in trouble. So what we want to do is a deterrent. It's really important because when you're 17 years old, you're considered an adult in Texas. So it's no longer juvenile court. You're an adult. And you're in jail with 40, 50, 60-year-old men or women. So it's important that we educate these kids. And what you all are doing here at Cal Chelsea, it's just taking the initiative in doing this. So I commend all the board members here. It's an incredible experience. And it starts at the high school. Eventually, we're able to go back to the junior highs. But something that we can get going, I think it's going to be highly instructive. It's going to be a great teaching tool. It's going to be really important for these kids to see what happens. Safety concerns. Only alcohol and drug cases, and that's it. Sheriff Eddie Guerra will come ahead of time with his team. We'll go to the location where it's going to be at, and they'll secure the location, how they're going to bring the defendants in. And some of the defendants will be walking in and off the streets. But there's all low level. And I only bring 6 defendants. We keep it simple. That way we can go through the whole process, how a plea is done, how sentencing is done, and what happens afterwards. I'll give you an example. I'm having a little girl. She's 19 years old. 19 years old. And she was caught in a vehicle with some friends. And there were some drugs in there. Controlled substance, cocaine to be exact. She was an innocent person in there. For 2 years she's been going through the system, trying to get through the system. And this coming up Friday, we found out she was not part of it. But also the system works for them also. And her case will be dismissed completely. And so we can show the kids that Mr. Ortega here as a prosecutor, his job, he'll tell you what his job is if you all need to hear from him. His job is not to put someone in jail. It's for justice to be performed. And there may be where a case gets dismissed. So this is an awesome program. So Judge Benincourt, myself, and Judge Singletary have been working throughout the whole valley, going through all different school districts. And for me, it would be an honor to come to Cal Chelsea to provide this. And you're all lucky because one high school. Sometimes we go, La Jolla has 4 high schools, so it's kind of hard to go through all of them. And they want one high school first, but here it's going to be really easy to do that. But I highly recommend, if some of the school board members want to go Friday to go see what happens, see the effect of it, it'd be fantastic. And it's about what we're doing here, giving back to our community. And who's your community? Your student body, your counselors, your teachers. That's what we have here. It's important that they're able to give back to them. And this is a way that nobody can complain. This is something positive for our community. Anthony, you want to say anything on behalf of the DA's office?
Like the judge said, my name is Anthony Ortega. I'm a prosecutor with the Hidalgo County District Attorney's Office. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I couldn't sum it up any better. By the way, he said it's not Judge Judy. It's the real thing. You do have inmates that are there. You have people up off the streets. They might be, in custody. They might be out on bond. These people are facing, third-degree felonies, state jail felonies, real jail time. This is not a situation where they're coming in to get a slap on the wrist. They're looking at real consequences, whether that's going to prison, whether it's going to state jail, whether it's being put on probation for many years. And like the judge summed it up, we're not there to punish. My job is not to punish, it's to seek justice. And so the kids will get to see me negotiate, talk, discuss with the defense attorneys there in person, really discussing the case, really discussing how are we going to resolve this, what's going to be the outcome, what's the best thing to do in this case, and the impact that could have on them, and see firsthand, these are the consequences. These are real life mistakes. This is what happens when you go through the system and how the system works. It could have a real impact on those kids' lives and what they go through. So y'all are more than welcome, again, like Judge said, to come out and see what it's really like and what we go through. Myself, along with my co-prosecutor, Michelle Puig, will be there. Handling these cases, we've done it a couple times before, and it's been an awesome experience and really cool to see the courtroom transplanted into real life and right in front of these kids. It's pretty cool to see. On a personal note, my family, Uncle Naro, Tío Jorge, a long line of families. My mom, my dad went to Cal Chelsea, right down the line. So, prospectively, really cool deal for me to be here, and I'm honored. I appreciate y'all just hearing us out today. So it's really fantastic what Judge is doing, and hope y'all get to see it.
Appreciate it.
And again, no one's ever done it before. We started this, and it's a great program. And also for the taxpayers here, there's no cost except for putting us some chairs for the defense table for defendants, and putting us some chairs for the prosecutor. And
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, sir.
That was going to be my question. What facility would you use? Or would it be in here in the chambers, or we have to provide a facility for
We
you?
provide a facility. What
Okay.
I've been doing, PSJ had this performing arts facility, so it kind of worked out perfect for that particular program.
Okay.
Juarez Lincoln did that in the gymnasium, where we set a half court into the stand, so they filled up every seat available.
Oh, wow.
If you go to Pioneer this Friday, we're going to do the same thing set up at Juarez Lincoln. But I urge you guys, I urge the principal, I urge staff that bring the kids who are in trouble, who need help, need some guidance too. There are certain schools they only want to bring certain kids. I think it should be open to the ones who are at risk, the ones who are in that bubble, the ones who need help. I think it's important. But the cost to you all, the sheriff pays for all the costs of transporting, because they would be going to the courthouse or the school. So there's no cost to you all except for you can make it as fancy as you want. We need some tables, a place, a bench for me, my court reporter, some power, and I'm sure your IT department can go set up all the microphones in there, so the kids can hear. And afterwards, there'll be a question and answer session for the kids, and it's important. I try to bring a lot of my female colleagues that can be there from the Bar Association, which are the attorneys, which is important. That way, these young ladies can see, hey, I can do this. I can be there. A prosecutor. I have my bailiff is a female. So it's important they see these other roles also, that we instruct our young ladies, hey, there's more out there. So, and I don't believe she was your classmate, by the way.
No.
She wasn't on that one. That one over there.
So it's important that we give back, and I appreciate you guys even giving us the opportunity to be here. And I think we've spoken about it before, but you all putting me on the agenda, and I cannot miss. Thank you very much for allowing this to come here.
No problem.
Once you guys approve it, we'll set up a time we can do it. I may not be able to get it before spring break. It may be afterwards, but I want to get Cal Chelsea done before the end of the year. Because think about it, we can only do it during the school year.
Yeah. Another question, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Let's say these inmates come in to get sentenced. Will their family be invited as well?
The family can be invited. We try to keep it. We don't advertise it on TV, or the news stations don't do that, because sometimes the news coverage, there will be a Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 3, the monitor. They will show up to basically see what's going on with that Cal Chelsea. So they'll do that, and it's a publicity for the school itself, yes, but the families, we try not to have them there. Okay. And if they do, there's a section where they can sit, and they're pretty docile. We're not bringing high-risk offenders.
Okay, yeah.
We're bringing only...
I'm seeing the safety of
everything,
yes. You know, and just seeing what people are going to come in. I know there are cases, you're saying they're not as serious as some other ones, but you never know who can be coming into our school, and we want to know who comes in and out of our school.
In the way it works there, typically you can have your local PD before they come in. Like, I'll give you an example. Pioneer, they don't have their own ISD police. So the local PD comes in, which would be Mission, and they help out. But the Sheriff's Department brings in a little task force where it's secure, and there's no messing around. When they come here, the only thing is when I take over, it belongs to me. And I'm the judge there. And if kids are out of hand, we can hold them in contempt. It's the courtroom. We're literally coming from the courthouse. I don't know how else to stress it, but when you go see it, it's an amazing experience what these kids go through.
What time is?
It's going to be at 9 a.m. this Friday, and what I'll do, I'll send out the invitation. You have the invitation where you can get in. It'll be to the north side. It's at 9 a.m., and we start promptly.
See if I get your cell phone number.
And whoever's your creative person you want to send out there how to set it up, that would be fantastic. See, certain school like La Jolla, they went on the website, they got a seal as Texas. And they didn't put Judge Ken Velasquez or Judge Benecourt or Judge Singletary. That way, next time if another judge is going to come, you can reuse that seal. And they have some little felt around the tables, just kind of hide things. And then from there, we just kind of take over. But
like a great
it's an
idea.
amazing experience. So hopefully it won't be a problem. The board will approve it, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, on that, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Move by Mayor.
Second.
Well, motion by Mr. Torres, motion by Mr. Barco, second by Mr. Torres. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate
Looking
it.
forward to it.
And who do I send the invitation to? I just
You can send it to Ron.
Send it to me.
okay.
my
You can
secretary.
disseminate that. That'll work out, and then you can give me a list who's going to show up. That way, I can have them on the list, and then whoever's a creative person wants to go there, we'll make it. Every school makes it better and better and better. I'm telling you, so
Great.
it'll be a good experience.
Judge, thank you so
We
much.
appreciate that gold tie. Way to go.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Judge.
Y'all have a good evening. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Mr. Ortega, thank you. Okay, moving back to item 5, Mr. Cavazos, the superintendent report.
Yes, sir. Members of the board, I'd like to ask you to look at your packet for the attendance report for yesterday. This is the latest report, just so you can see where we're at, what the status is of our attendance. Right now, it shows we're down from last year, 163 students, and we've been trying very hard. Principals and the staff have been trying very hard to keep our students in school, keeping them enrolled, trying to go out and recruit so that we can keep that number as low as possible.
Have the numbers, I didn't get one, so I'm just looking to see.
Okay, it should be there in the packet. No?
Oh, that's right, yeah, it's with the staple, it's on the staple.
Have we increased any of our populations? I know that some of the grade levels, like 3rd, 4th, and 5th, have we seen any jump as far as rise, returning students?
I would probably direct that to the elementary principals in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Have you all seen any jumps?
No, not yet. A few? Yeah.
Give me one example of what you're doing to get kids back.
They've gone to recruit, they've gone to find out why.
Who's the email?
The museum.
Okay.
We got two kids from IDU.
Great.
The 50, Jesse, that are missing from your school, I know I've seen IDEA recruit very heavily down the Mile 12 area. There's a huge area that geographically belongs to Ed Calchoso. I don't think we're doing enough to recruit kids or to at least try to bring kids.
We lost her no more than 6 points right here from my campus. A lot of it was mobility within the valley area, more for economic reasons. We lost like 6 kids to IDEA.
So you're tracking the 50 that are missing?
Well, those have been enrolled, we track them through PINS, through our Texas. So we know that they're enrolled Edinburgh, West Tahoe, in the surrounding area.
Could we do that next time, Mr. Cavazos, maybe just a breakdown of where the kids were enrolled?
Okay.
I know we've done that in the past.
Yeah, I've seen that report before. Mr. Cavazos, would you like to continue?
Sir, is that?
Would you like to continue?
Yes, that'll be fine. I'll put down that as an item for the next meeting of the report on the student transfers. The state does provide that for us on occasion throughout the year. They do it a couple of times, and they give us numbers of students that have transferred out and numbers that have come in. So put that down.
Do we have any other questions for attendance or student enrollment, I mean? No. You want to continue, Mr. Cavazos?
Yes, sir.
I think the next one was...
We're gonna postpone now. On item B?
Oh, that's correct.
Right.
Item B, it's the presentation of 2018 Texas Academic Performance Report. I'd like to recommend to the board if we can table this item to the next meeting. Can we do that, Mr. Yes, sir. If we could table this item for the next meeting, it has to be duly posted for the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is item 6, presentation discussion items. Presentation by Linebarger, Goggin, Blair, and Sampson LLP on the IFT delinquent tax collection report for September 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2018. We have Mr. Cano here from Linebarger.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls-Reed. Good evening, members of the board. Just for the record, Michael Cano, partner with Linebarger. As you know, we're your delinquent tax attorneys, and I'm standing in for Kelly, who couldn't be here tonight. I know I'm not as good looking or as intelligent as she is, but y'all got second best today.
Don't sell yourself short.
So anyhow,
You're taller.
Yeah. That's about the only advantage I have over Kelly, trust me. Anyhow, I'm here to give an update as to how the collections are going for the first 4 months of this fiscal year. And I'm actually very happy to report that Kelly's been doing an exceptional job here with the district. I believe you have the report in your packet, right? So
we were not sent the copy. I thought Lucy had said that she would give us a packet when she came. Do we have copy? Is it in the packet? Okay.
Okay, so.
But I think it would be just.
It should be in the packet then.
It was in the note, the overall packet.
It was on the board book as well.
Well, I'll try to be as brief as possible, and I'll try to give you all the numbers so you know where we stand. Obviously, what we do is reach out to your taxpayers who have a delinquency. We reach them by mail, we reach them by telephone, and on page 3 of the report, you'll see that we've actually changed the way we do business, and we try to avoid the litigation process when necessary, because we don't want your taxpayers to incur additional court costs, abstract fees, and go through the litigation process. So we've actually increased the number of home visits that we do now, and you'll see that for the past few months, we've actually conducted 62 home visits with your taxpayers, and we basically visit them at home, sit down with them, and try to enter some type of a payment agreement and get them to start addressing their tax delinquency. And that's been very successful. So you'll see that whenever we can't bring them in or we feel like they're avoiding us, sometimes it is necessary to file a lawsuit. Kelly has filed 2 lawsuits in the past few months, trying to collect about $7,000. And currently, Kelly represents y'all in 150 lawsuits pending in Hidalgo County, trying to collect just over $700,000. And really, the meat and potatoes of what we do is collect money, right? So on page 4, you'll see that we always benchmark to the prior year, Mr. Smalls-Reed, because we want to at least turn over to your business office the same amount of money we did the prior year for budgeting purposes. The first 4 months of the last fiscal year, we were able to collect $129,000 for the district. This year, there's been a 50% increase, and I'll tell you that obviously I do this work across almost all of South Texas. I don't think I've seen a 50% increase in a 4-month period in any other district. So Kelly must be doing something right, because for the first 4 months, she's already collected over $195,000 for the district. Now, what's more important is that aside from having that substantial increases can always be explained if there's more tax money out there, right? So if there's more money to collect, then obviously there's going to be more revenue. But if you look at the bottom of the bar chart, and I apologize if you don't have it, but I'll tell you the beginning balance of the fiscal year, the prior year, was $1.9 million. That's your DTR balance. So the amount of delinquent taxes owed to the district last year, or the prior fiscal year, was $1.9 million. Starting this last fiscal year, the balance was $1.8 million. So the amount of delinquent taxes owed to the district has actually gone down. And that's pretty phenomenal, especially because this is a growing district. I believe the prior fiscal year, you issued about $3.8 million in current tax bills to your taxpayers, and then this year went up to $3.9 million. So your current tax rate or your current taxes are going up, but the amount of money that's owed to the district is going down. And that usually happens when there's a lot more being collected on the back end. So again, I wish I could take the credit for it, but I can't. Kelly works very hard on your account. We have 55 staff members in our office that work every day to collect taxes, and obviously they're doing a very good job. So again, I commend Kelly, and you must, you have a good community here because everyone believes in the school system. They don't mind paying into it. So things are on track. Kelly's doing a phenomenal job, and if there's any questions about how we work, the firm, and whatnot, I'll be happy to take them at this time.
Any questions of Mr. Cano? Thank you so much for coming by, Mr. Cano.
Thank you, Mr. Smalls-Reed. I just want to commend you all on accepting that court program. Mr. Castillo and I are part of that in PSJA, where we're from, and it is a phenomenal program. The kids really get a lot from it, so I commend you all for doing that.
Looking forward to that.
All right, y'all have a nice evening. Thanks for having us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, moving on to item 7, consent agenda items. It is open for discussion, comments.
I've got a few items here. I was looking at that one of the big things that is popping out there, and it's professional development. I mean, and I'm all for professional development, but looking at the different items that are popping out, one of them being the sub-hub, the amount of sub-hub being paid out, obviously because we're having to bring people in to cover for these people. And I think we had something like almost 900 absentees that have been created because of the staff development. Then to find out some schools, I think the high school is one of them, as well as other schools, the big day for training apparently is Friday. I think we really need to go back, Mr. Carlson, and understand how we can have so many people out on Fridays for staff development practically every week. The extra duty pay also, that's showing that it's all reflected. So the numbers are, it's basically costing us a lot. And I understand staff development is very important, but I'm wondering, when I'm looking at Region 1's getting all this revenue now and we're paying out tens of thousands of dollars, I'd have to ask, you know, are we being careful? Are we being effective? I guess that's the word I'm looking for. And what we're actually training, because the amount of money that we've paid out in the last couple of months is incredible. You know, and again, 900 absentees created for training makes me wonder what our kids are learning on Fridays or the days that all these teachers are gone. That's 900 days in the first 5 months out of the year? 900 days, and that's just for training. That's not including the other days that people are absent for personal reasons. So I'd ask that we really take a look at that and see if it's being effective or not.
Are we doing staff developments on Fridays?
Mr. Gosses, can you answer that?
Staff developments we have are on Saturdays. These may be
Just absentee?
individuals that might be going to Region 1, but it's very few, because I know Mr. Gosses is limited that also.
Because we did discuss the increase in StubHub, I think a couple meetings back. Or yeah, what did I say? StubHub. Oh, StubHub for the tickets. SubHub.
Yeah, SubHub.
Yeah.
It's a lot of absences.
I will say that we have talked, and the principals know, we do as much as we can on Saturdays, days off, and we had how many days at the beginning of the year? Was it 5 or 6 days professional development? So we do have some training and some professional development during the week, but we try to limit that, especially after the holidays. My directive to Mrs. Garcia and to the rest of the department managers was to try to limit that training as much as we can. You know, between December and testing time, you really don't want the teachers out that much. But there are some staff that have to be out for different types of training. Now I can put a report together. We'll talk about that.
I'd say let's look at it because, you know, you look at the SubHub, we paid out $90,000 this month. You know, that's an outrageous amount of money.
So most times we do try to have our PD on Saturdays, and then another one is then also after school.
Yeah.
So what would be the answer for 900 absences in 5 months?
There's a lot of reasons. You know, we're trying to disaggregate that data so that we can identify why the staff is out. You know, that's a system that Mr. Gonzalez and I had been working on, trying to itemize exactly why the staff is out. We had not been able to see that before. So now we have information that shows whether they're out for personal reasons, whether the absence is related to professional development, or if it's a school-related activity. There are a lot of school-related activities that we have to cover. Some of them is professional development, but you know, a lot of it is just tied to a lot of student activities.
And if you look at the bills for payment, you know, those were the first. That was actually practically the first page there on extra duty pay. I mean, it's just a large amount being paid out, a large amount, and there's name after name after name after name, pages filled, and it all says staff development. So I'd say let's look at it. I want to make sure that we're being effective, but you look at staff development, and then you look at the absenteeisms, and you look at SubHub. Everything seems to tie into each other. If it's a Saturday, you shouldn't have too many absentees.
No.
If it's Saturday, we shouldn't be paying SubHub. So why are we paying so much?
Now, I will say, if you look at it, a lot of the charges that are there are for stipends that we pay the staff. So a lot of the itemized listings of names are for stipends we pay for a Saturday when they come to training. So we'll look at it, we'll break it up. I know Mrs. Garcia, just so you know, I know Mrs. Garcia has worked with her special program budget, so she works with State Comp Ed, Title I, Title II. She's used a lot of those funds to help pay for a lot of that professional development. But we'll go back and we'll look at it so we can identify which of those professional development days were during the week and which ones are during, like on a Saturday. But just keep in mind that a lot of those charges that are listed are for stipends that were paid to staff when they came in on a Saturday or whenever we went.
So again, it all ties in, so let's understand the numbers, because when you look at it, when you look at the numbers, it just says, okay, we're having trainings, we're having to cover, we're having to pay. It's just a big circle. So maybe for the next meeting, we can have a breakdown on this versus area. Okay.
You had another concern, Mr. Torres? Or question?
Next year, I'm seeing that, the marketing, I saw that, we've got I wonder if we could go back and negotiate, because we're seeing that we're going to pay about $16,000 to $17,000 for marketing at the movie theaters.
That is for the advertisement that we do on Farm Movie 16 and the West Suffolk movie theater. That's the one that we use for the rest of the year. It's from the second semester.
So that's covering us for how long, Mr. Butcher?
All the way up to this school year, up to August.
And that's
24 weeks.
how is that? Well, how many movie theaters is that?
It's 2.
2 movie theaters?
Well, it's 2 theaters, but various screens.
But various screens.
Okay.
Well,
So that covers
all
screening,
so
all
it's-
showing.
So that covers us for several months.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a captive audience.
I do get a lot of compliments on, I know I go to the Harlingen movie theater and I see Harlingen schools and even their PDs advertising on there, and you get it's very informative.
No, I agree. My concern was it was like for a month.
No, 60,000 for a month. No, it's for the rest of the school. So it works. I've had a couple of administrators tell me that they've actually had some students that are now moved in because that they saw it on there. They told the parents. I think they were coming from another country. They were coming over here, and they wanted to move this way to get closer to Cachos because they saw it on there.
My last concern, or my last question really is, there's one of the items here that stood out for PNC Bank for the lease for the Jumbotron. We're working off a lease. It's for $90,000.
Yes, that's the annual payment.
Why is it classified as a lease?
Explain that. This was done before I was here.
It's a 5-year lease from what I understood.
The one here on Mile 4? Or which one?
No.
Oh, the stadium.
The stadium, the new one.
But lease?
Mm-hmm.
That's just the name of the financing.
Yeah, the way you financed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember you voted against.
Now, how are we doing as far as collecting funds towards that lease?
I think this past year, Mrs. Rocha, how much did we collect from sponsors, vendors and sponsors?
We have several individuals,
Mm-hmm.
That's all right.
contract this out to have somebody that, depending on the amount.
Yep.
I don't know.
But I think this past football season, I know we had some commitments. I thought it was like about $30,000 in commitments.
I don't think we collected that much, or almost nothing this past football season or school year. I know that was done before I got on this board, but I remember when I heard as a taxpayer when they were trying to sell it to us that those sponsorships were supposed to pay for the board. And there was a lot of room on there, but if you notice, those same signs that are on there have been there since it was put up. I don't know if those same people paid again.
Yeah.
Or kind of like this one here on Mile 4.
Remember we had a meeting and we had said we were going to look for somebody.
Right.
Secure the sponsors, and based on that, we were, for every amount that they got, I think we're getting a percentage of that.
So was it done though? I mean, because you say you had a meeting.
No.
So it wasn't done. Because I'm seeing we had $97,000 just paid out. 97,000, I guess that's the yearly payment. But I think the way it was originally presented was that every year we'd have money paying for it. And I agree with Mr. Smasher is that I think we need to strip those signs of those, people that are on those boards and say, okay, it's blank. They're not paying for it.
No.
So let's take it off and, hey, let's put our bands, let's put our groups up there or something.
Well,
At the end, we're paying for
now's the
it.
time to start asking for
Yes,
for
that's right.
sponsorships for next year.
Yeah.
I believe
You
even the one in the gym.
can't do it when the season's about to start.
I believe even the one in the gym has space for advertisement, doesn't it? Or no?
The hybrid truck?
Yes.
No.
So anyway, there's
all right.
the one here in Mile 4 and the football field for sure. They need to be taken off. And for advertising, you put a sign there for advertisement purposes. Call this number, and that way people, if they want to advertise on there, and then at the same time, we need to go out and start making phone calls.
Now before the season starts.
The one thing I will say is one of the things that we were looking at and talking about, matter of fact, earlier today I had that conversation with a gentleman. We're looking at trying to prepare an RFP so that we could get the services from somebody to go out and look for vendors and recruit the vendors and then from that make a commission. There are individuals out there that do that. So there is somebody that I'd like to talk to so that we can try to put that RFP together and put that out there so we can get somebody to help us go out and hunt for vendors that want to sponsor signs like that on a video board, and then see what we can do.
Didn't we? No.
All right, can we have an update for next meeting? Just
Okay.
as an update, I want to see the plan as far as for the scoreboards, sponsorships, things like that. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you.
I did have a question on item H, on the approval for the Mind Play. Ms. Garcia, I have here your presenter. Have we kind of surveyed our principals, teachers, as to who's using this software and whether or not it's something that is? I know we pay a pretty penny for this. Just want to make sure that we're keeping up with evaluating it, making sure.
The high school is using it quite a bit, and
Okay.
She stepped out.
Right. I know the renewal is for 150 licenses, and it's
this was for, I think, the second set of licenses.
yes.
Local purchase.
Because I know earlier in the year we purchased another set of licenses, so I think they're staggered. I just want to make sure before we invest into a software that we're maybe thinking of changing in the near future, that we're really looking into it to see if we're evaluating correctly.
Yeah, we're going to evaluate in May. We're going to look at all our software programs. We've been looking at the usage, and whatever is not being used.
Okay.
Look at not paying, because money is money.
Yes.
Is that the only criteria you're using to evaluate?
No, we're using in progress, we're using usage.
But if they're not using it, how can you track progress?
Well, that's,
I wonder if it shows you every time somebody logs in the login account and somebody recently goes into
Well,
that.
I think that's the problem, is that you have maybe one elementary using it and another one using something else, when it all should be uniform. They should all be using the same thing, because how are you gonna rank them? I mean,
So you tell them
who
different-
oversees what they're supposed to be doing?
So each school district has different software?
That one is our tier 3 program for kids that are struggling.
Is that right, Chris?
What?
Each school district uses a different software. They're not all using the same. I mean, each campus.
We have all these.
It's in the packet. It's in your packet.
This is in your packet.
Yeah, I saw that.
Are these too many programs for the, I mean, it sounds like it might be a little overkill as far as programs go. But until you identify what works and find a system of identifying, I mean, we're gonna be in the same predicament. I'm thinking we're just throwing money at the problem and hoping it's gonna solve itself, and that's just not the case.
Yeah, I think we just need to be a little more vigilant, make sure that if the software is working, we can continue. But if it's something that is not producing results, then there's many others out there. That's what I'm saying, and some of them have.
Yeah, but that's my argument, though, is they should all be using it, so that way you can track it evenly. Because if one school uses it and another one doesn't, I mean, it's just not a. I mean, it's just not a good way of tracking. It doesn't make sense to me.
Now, I will say, just so that the board knows, that MindPlay was a product that was purchased, I guess, a few years back. We invested quite a bit of money in those licenses, and if I'm not mistaken, we have how many? About 300 and something licenses, 320, 325 licenses.
So why aren't they being utilized is my question.
It's made available through as a tier. We're using it for tier 3 for intervention for tier 3 students, but
that the
They
only
can
way we
use
can
it
use
for other purposes as well. They can use it just as part of a
If we
tutorial
pay that much
program.
money, we should.
Yeah.
Is there a reason, I mean, we have our principals here, would there be a reason why some campuses are choosing not to use it?
I know
Is it-
Chris just stepped in the room. Chris, do you use MindPlay at JF?
Most teachers use it, but not all,
What about LBJ and Garcia? And
We stick to the Waterford, sir, and to the iReady. We're sticking to our Imagine Learning, which is our designated one for tier 2 and tier 3.
Yeah.
See, and that's my concern.
We're not on the same page with what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So the IXL.
That's why the scores when they come in, they're all over the place, and who knows?
So nobody uses MindPlay?
So this is something that we need to make sure we look at. I know that this summer we went over a list of all the different softwares that we were going to be purchasing and getting. Yes, I just want to make sure that what we are getting is something that is, let's say, for example, JFK using MindPlay. But if we don't see results, then maybe we need to switch to one that is producing more results. That's my thing. That's what I want to be able to see. Because I know that we go through renewals, but we don't find out to say, is it worth the one? Do we still need those 150? If we're not using these licenses, let's just keep the minimum as to what we really require and do away with these extra 150. There's no reason to
Find a
have.
better way to track progress and then come back and present and say, you know what, this program here doesn't work. Or doesn't work for our kids at Ed Cauchos. But until you tune the criteria, the process, we're going to be spitballing. It's a shotgun approach.
Yeah.
We do have a beginning of the year assessment that was given, we have the middle of the year that they just gave, and then we'll have.
Well, Ms. Garcia, it really sounds like they're not on the same page here.
The thing is
Everybody
that
uses whatever they want.
MindPlay is a tier 3, it's for the kids that are
You keep
struggling.
saying tier 3. What is tier 3?
Tier 1 is a program that you use for all students. And then tier 2 would be kids that are struggling a little bit, so you're going to give them another program that they can use either after school or in the classroom. And then their tier 3 would be the most severe, the kids that are.
So JFK has more tier 3s than the other elementaries?
We're given the principals have some autonomy as to the software that they utilize. You know, we do tell them though, for example, what she's saying is all your tier 1 or all students, they don't really have an option, so they utilize that software. So for the pre-K to 2, they'll use Waterford. For the other upper grades in the elementaries, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, they use iReady. And then for tier 2, that's where you have a little more flexibility. And then finally, tier 3 is your smaller group, and then that's an additional piece of software that they can use if they choose to. But I will say this, though. We had talked about this at the beginning of the year when we evaluated this back in the summer, and we went through that process, was that we do need to kind of narrow the scope of the software that we utilize. But when you have $300,000 invested in MindPlay, it's kind of hard to ignore it. But it's there. And so if they want to utilize it, we give them that opportunity. But we invested a lot of money in that software last year, so we made it available to them. So some of them like to use it, some do not.
With autonomy comes responsibility, and everybody's feet should be held to the fire, especially this year.
And I think the principals, they know when they evaluate the software in the summer, they'll have to decide if there's some products that we don't want to use. But at the same time, we have to kind of consider what amount of money we put into those programs. So it's a catch-22. But you know, we know the software that's out there. Some software is better than others. But you know,
Change the process. I mean, if you know it's a catch-22, then change the process.
Oh, but
Find a
you
way
do
to
that.
evaluate.
You do that through
On a level playing field with everyone.
But we'll do that during the summer after we finished up our instructional program at the end of the year. We'll evaluate everything. And that's part of the responsibility of the program managers. They have to
Come
evaluate
up
their
with
program.
something, because this isn't working.
Okay.
I got a question on Pete.
Hold on one second. So, Mr. Morales, what do you want to do with this item? Do you want to pull this item? You want to keep it on there?
I just want to make sure that if we do approve this, and we just need to keep an eye on what we have in the near future. Next time we have any renewals, that I just make sure that we remember that when we selected these software that we purchased during the summer this year, I said it's not set in stone that we have to keep it forever. If it is something that is not producing, and I know MindPlay, we've had it for a couple of years. This is not the first year we have it, and I know our scores, you know, are not where we want them to be. So I don't see anything showing, and before they used to use it all the time, yes or no? This is the only thing we had, or?
Commissioner Morales, you
So
wanna-
that's my only thing. I'm not saying I want to take it off. I'm saying, are we sure this is what we want to invest in, and we're good? I'm not here to say, I want to take it off because it's not my decision. It's our principals, our administration, whoever it is that is manning and monitoring this. Is this a good investment for our district? And that's all I'm asking.
And my argument is just find a way to monitor it. That's it. Find a level playing field and monitor it.
You gotta
So,
go-
can I move on now?
Yeah, you can move on.
So, Ms. Garcia, what is Rivera Educational Consulting and what are they doing for the district? What are they proposing to do?
She's a consultant that's working specifically with Luan, since they were a comprehensive support school. They get additional money from the state, and they have to bring in consultants to work with them to help them increase their scores. So she's working with Luan, and she's also working with Garcia. She does a lot of work with how to disaggregate the data, how to target instruction.
And also to help teachers identify student progress, if students are progressing or not. So she has a system that she's put together. She calls it Texas Color Bands. Mrs. Rivera, was a PSP. She was a service provider for many years, and so she's been trained by the state. So she understands the accountability system very well. But I think the principals can kind of speak to you about her services. I think Dr. Rios is here as well. I think it's really important to understand, though, that you have to have somebody that's talking about accountability with the teachers and explaining to them how to analyze the student performance data. And that's her job. She comes in and she talks to the teachers.
So is Garcia a pilot program? Is that why it's only utilized at one elementary?
It was.
They were struggling the most, and so we wanted additional help, and so
Okay, I can respect that.
that's what we wanted to use.
Any other questions?
I've got one more under O. This is for the approval of the optional flexible year program. I still, Ms. Garcia, as far as having a flexible schedule, I look at it different ways. One, what's the impact on transportation? I mean, not everybody can reach the school on vehicles. Some of the kids require their parents to bring them,
Transportation would continue the way we have it now.
which is in the morning.
No, Mr. Torres, real quickly, there's a packet there in front of you right here, this blue packet. And so if she can, I'd like for her to explain, since it's there, she can explain to you what this particular program is going to help us do. I think we had already talked, I think the board was aware that we had talked about providing an opportunity at the end of the year in May, mid-May, to give the students a chance to go home early if they pass their STAR test.
Right.
And then we would focus on only the most at-risk kids after the middle of May. So in order to do that, you have to go through a process. The state makes you go through a process. That's called the Optional Flexible School Year Application. That's the program that's in front of you. So, it is an item there for discussion, but we had talked about, this before, and I think the board was in agreement that we would look at it as an option for the kids. Principals were okay with this. What essentially what it means is that on May 17th, school for most kids would end, and then the other students that most at risk would have to stay in school. They're required through the optional flexible school year program. They're required to stay. And then the district would also provide professional development for the staff and also do enrichment academies for the kids. So it's something that she can talk about.
I guess my question was more on the financial side, the impact as far as like lunches, breakfast, the accountability for these things. I mean,
The lunch would continue, the breakfast would continue for the kids that are attending, and then.
what about if the kids are not attending?
Yeah,
so is there an impact? I guess I'm looking at it for the financial side. Is there a cost? Because kids have a hard time getting up as it is. When
Right.
the parents are rushing for work. Imagine if they go off to work and say, promise to get up. Yeah, I'll be up, Mom, in a while. I'm just wondering, is there something?
I will say that, and I think Mr. Romero's here, that if you don't have students at the end of May, you're going to lose some funding through child nutrition. I think that's pretty much common sense. But through funding from the state, through ADA, through this process, just like we do every year, they fund us through the best 4-6 weeks of the school year.
Okay.
And those are usually your 2nd through your 5th. And the last 6 weeks is normally not a week or 6 weeks that you get funding for. That's when you have your lowest enrollment, when kids leave early. So the funding will not be affected in terms of ADA. but there will be some impact with child nutrition. So, I mean, I'm just telling you, I mean, that is one of the
And I guess the last part there is obviously the transportation for these kids. I mean,
The transportation will continue. They're going to get transportation in the morning and
the ones
transportation in
that
the,
are
the
in
ones that
school.
are coming to
the
school.
ones that are coming.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And we do, again, we're going to provide enrichment programs. You know, some teachers will be assigned enrichment academies. We do the robotics. We'll do different types of science camps. We'll do, you know, even some, you know, poetry. We do some UIL academic activities. We put those activities together so those kids have an opportunity to come back as well. So it's kind of, we're trying to address the needs of all the kids, but in the end, I think one of the things, and I want to tell everybody, I think the principals will agree, is that, you know, what we try to do is use it as an incentive. The principals will talk to the students and let them know if you pass your START test and you do well, you don't have to come back after May 17th. You get to start summer early. So that's a really good selling point.
And then the other thing is for summer school, we can't really afford to bring in first and second, so we're able to help them during those 2 weeks to get them the help that they need. And the teachers will be working with
During
smaller
school.
groups.
You do the summer school during school.
This is for all grades. Right.
It's for elementary all the way through high school.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how parents are going to react to that, having their kids out.
Well, we're going to be sending out some letters to the, I already called other districts to see how they did it. So I have some of their samples. So we're going to need to develop our criteria with the principals as far as who's going to be staying and who's going to be allowed to
I guess we got to make sure that parents understand that school could possibly end earlier this year.
Yes.
And they have to make sure they have arrangements made for daycares and.
Yeah, and that's why Mr. Cavazos was talking about doing some enrichment camps.
Enrichment camps, that means if they can't do daycare or they don't have somebody home, they can still stay, but they'll be coming in for that enrichment
Yeah, like
camp.
the STEM Academy we had last year for our
That's what
high
you get to do a
achievers.
little extra.
I think
extra things.
I think it's also important to note that, you know, I believe, just in case I might be wrong about La Villa, I never actually got a really straight answer. My understanding was that Dr. Cervantes, he did this at the end of the year. So La Villa, Mercedes, and Westaco, and I think Donna's doing it this year as well, from what I understand.
Point Isabel has been doing it for several years.
They've already made that
Lyford.
decision. They've been doing that for a couple of years.
Yeah, La Villa did it last year.
It's a win-win pretty much. At the end of the year, we have students who are needing to be in summer school, and usually the teachers that handle summer school are the teachers that would handle your curriculum writing, and there's no way of having the teacher in two separate locations at the same time, so this will alleviate how much we put on our teachers, and we do want them to enjoy their summer, so this is also an incentive for our teachers to drive our students to be more successful in the classroom. That way they're able to take care of everything.
And they're working with smaller
it's
groups.
just the wording. I mean, it's a flexible year-round schedule.
Flexible year
And we're
program.
saying it's a flexible May.
Pretty much.
I think, I forgot to mention, through this process, during the summer, we get to collect 88 through this, do we not? If those kids are here all the way to the end of June?
I need to check on that.
I need to verify.
Because they do need to be here until the last testing.
Yeah.
I like the information on this. If there's any other questions?
So moved.
Second.
And I'm referring to all the consent agenda items.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we do.
Mr. Barco, motion by Mr. Barco, second by Mr. Morales, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Going into discussion and action items. Discussion and action to rename PFC Ibarra Middle School to Ibarra Fine Arts Academy. Mr. Cavazos?
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item B, discussion and action on payment of current bills February 2019.
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item C, discussion and action on EISD financial report, February 2019.
So part of the packet, right?
Yes, sir. Here's a copy in your folder, sir. In case you didn't have your agenda with you.
Sylvia, the only number that's jumping out at me right now is the projected fund balance, as what you're predicting is 20,900,336.
That's as of today.
As of today.
With what's in excess right now. So it changes every day. you know,
Right.
as-
But right now, it's a positive number.
Right now, it's a positive
It's
number.
actually a
yes.
very high positive number.
Okay, good, that's good.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, guys. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Garza. You did great work. Item E, Discussion and action on approval of district campus charter program application.
We've discussed this one in the past, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So moved. I'm sorry, go ahead.
My only thing, I just want to make it clear on the record that this in no way is any type of,
Charter school.
yeah,
It's not
DOI.
a district of innovation.
We discussed this one last time.
Yeah. Can I just share what it is real quick?
Yes.
All this application is to put a teacher who's going to be roaming around through the daycares, and will be working with those 3-year-olds with our curriculum. Okay, and we'll get ADA funding.
Yes, sir. We generate funding for a half day of instruction.
A half day of instruction in those daycares, and at the same time, we'd be able to recruit them to stay in the Ed Calchasa School District, and it's a win-win for the district. So this is not DOI, it's not District of Innovation, this is not a charter school, this is just that program to keep those students here in the pre-K 3.
Sure.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item F, discussion and action on approval of agreement with UTRGV Department of Human Development and School Services for the assignment of graduate students from the University School Psychology Program.
Ms. Flores, I was reading everything associated with this. My only question is that these students that are going to come in and do their practicum, it's practicum, right?
Yes, sir.
They're not going to be the ones providing the service, correct? They're there to take notes, monitor the LSSP, see how they're working. They're not signing off on anything, correct?
No, they are signing, but they're signing with the LSSP. The LSSP is taking full responsibility for those cases. Now, these children, or the students that are coming in, are at the end of their master's program, so they're ready to go into the real world, so they want to allow them the time just to practice. They're only allowed to do re-evaluations, not the initial evaluations, and only under the supervision with the LSSP. So then the LSSP is there with testing. They do the guidance, they do the scoring together, the report writing, the interpretation. They also monitor how it's presented at the ARD. The parents are aware, they are notified, and they do sign giving permission to do so. So everything is with the supervision of the LSSP.
Okay. Because then it also becomes an issue for funding, right? For charging for CHARS if we don't have the LSSP.
No, actually those children, we don't bill for SHARS. It's just for the testing purposes. Now, the actual services are provided by a service provider. Okay. So this is just for a child with a learning disability. This is not a psychological. This is not a child for autism or emotional. It's not that. It's just a learning disability.
Okay. You will make sure that you'll be monitoring the success of this.
Absolutely.
And anytime you see that things are not going as planned, you put an end to it?
Absolutely,
okay.
sir.
I have another question.
Okay. Would like to entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item G, discussion and approval of El Cachosa ISD, Monte Alto ISD, and La Villa ISD shared service agreement for special education services.
When Mr. Cavazos came on board, one of the things that he wanted us to look at is to update the SSA agreement. So we are in a co-op, and the last one that we had was 1999. So we did update it. Maddox helped us with updating it and writing it. It's just a little bit more current to what the needs are. Back then, things were very separate. Now it's a little bit more inclusive. So the other school board meetings have approved them, which is Monte Alto and La Villa. They've approved it, and it's just pending our approval.
Have we gotten paid for the service, so as far as Monte Alto and La Villa?
No, there's a couple of years that are still pending.
Correct. La Villa has requested that we share what is owed so that they can pay that. La Villa is more than willing to pay. Monte Alto, we needed to have some discussions, and I've had some discussions with the district. We just have not completed that.
I believe we actually sent them a letter, did we not?
Yes,
telling
sir.
them what the amount was that was owed?
I think it's like almost 400,000 between the two of them, no? Almost?
Each district has 2 years.
Yeah, I would think Monte Alto was...
Monte Alto, yes.
It was like 200 and something thousand, 300,000, I believe.
We got to push to get paid. That's
yes,
money.
sir.
Yeah, we need to collect that.
All right.
entertain a motion on,
So moved.
Second.
motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item H, RFQ for visually impaired services to provide direct services to students.
Okay, where we are with that is that we have already advertised in the paper. It was advertised on the 10th and 17th. Everything's due on March 1st, so we're pending that.
March 1st.
So then we'll make a decision.
So what are we approving here?
Nothing.
Nothing.
So we're, okay.
Okay, moving on to item I, request to approve proposals submitted in response to RFQs for speech services.
Mr. Board President, members of the board, if I may, I've gotten multiple questions on items I, J, K, and L, and I'd like to, if it's okay with y'all, if we could go into executive session so I could give y'all legal advice on the process that was followed with respect to these services.
For the record, we're moving item I, J, K, and L until after executive session. Ms. Flores, thank you.
Thank you.
Item M, discussion and possible action of the Texas Education Agency class size exemption waivers. Ms. Rocha.
Mrs. Rocha, did you give them
This is for another.
the package?
I have it right here.
This is for another school, another campus. Thank you. Ms. Rocha, didn't we have a class size exemption waiver already done for the district?
We have done for the other grades.
And so this is for the secondary?
This is for kindergarten. If we get over 22, we have to apply at any classroom that we go
Okay.
to. We have to apply for that.
So the other one was just for the elementary?
Yeah.
I have one. I have one.
You have-
How many classrooms do we have? 1, 2, 3,
On which one?
6, 7?
And I can tell you in a minute if you want to know which ones we have applied. Before you, good evening, everybody again.
Good evening, Ms. Rocha.
In a way, it's good because we're not losing kindergarten because that's one of the grades that IDEA has. In kindergarten, I know Ms. Hernandez is here. We have 12 classrooms, and out of those 12 classrooms, we have 7 classrooms that have already gone over the 20.
Mr. Cosmos, there's no way we can add another teacher instead?
We can, but you were only over 7, I think, well,
Well,
Mrs.
no, it's over 3, 6, 9, 12, 14, 16, 18.
What's
Because
the-
I'm looking at anything above 20 it's more of a taking care of the students, babysitting them instead of teaching. That's my concern.
I myself, I have no problem hiring an additional teacher. We can do that. The only problem is we struggle trying to get teachers that are bilingually certified. But we can go out and look and see if there's anybody, now that we're in, February, there may be some students out there that have tested and might have gotten their certification. So we can open it up and look for some
At this age, having this many kids,
Yes.
even at 20, you're already pushing the limit there.
Definitely.
And I just feel that each of these classrooms is at least not 3, but maybe 5, 6 students over population.
I agree.
And I just feel that if we do accept this waiver, it's going to hinder the learning. We already have, enough worrying about getting our elementary, and then we're messing with our primary grades here. So I don't.
What is the waiver for, what's the breaking point?
22.
22.
Right now it's 22.
Anytime you go over 22 in any grade, we have to ask for a waiver.
So can we just
See,
have
and
Mr. Gonzalez go up and open it up and hire somebody else, see if there's somebody out there, do the waiver right
So
now?
that's your motion is to open up a classroom?
yeah, I'd rather, yes, open.
But we still need the waiver right now, don't we?
Yes, we do.
There's
We need the waiver.
a date, a timeline where you have to, if you go over the 22, there's a timeline. We could ask for it and then we hire the teacher that.
So I'd make a motion to accept the waiver as is while the evaluation for an additional class and teacher be reviewed.
Second. We have a motion, second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries, and this is also for Mr. Gonzalez to post a position
Yes.
for kindergarten teacher.
May I say something? We also have first grade, if you look at the bottom.
The bottom
So
one.
that goes,
Yes.
is the motion for both of them?
For both.
For both,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, and I just want to tell you if you want to know where we already have class size waivers in the other grades. I'll be more than happy to give you a report on that with Mr. Cavazos, okay?
Well, that's good for JFK though. that they're
Yeah,
getting some more
Gonna
students.
pick up a teacher. One she's been looking for a while.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rocha.
Yes, thank you.
You are the best. Moving on to item 9, executive session. The superintendent requests that the Board of Trustees convene a closed meeting as authorized by the provision of the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 and 551-074 for the purpose of discussing personal considered employment, resignation, retirement, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. The time is 7:59. We are now in executive session. time is 8:34. We'll now reconvene from executive session. Item A, discussion of possible action regarding personnel considering appointment, employment, resignation, retirement, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of public officer or employee.
Mr. President, I'd like to request from the board to approve those items as discussed in executive session.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item B, discussion and action.
No action, Mr. President. I'll say
No action. Thank you for saving me my voice. Item 11, adjournment.
No.
Nope,
We still need
gotta
to
go back,
I.
gotta go back.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Item I, J, K, and L.
Been a long day for me. Going back to item I,
Is that right?
request to approve proposal submitted in response to RFQ for speech services.
Mr. President, I'm requesting that the board take that back and have the administration re-rank the proposals as submitted.
Okay. So we'll take no action, item I.
No, I approve.
What do you
that.
recommend?
To approve that recommendation.
Okay, to approve the recommendation.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion? To approve to re-rank the speech services?
So moved. Second.
Motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item J, request to approve proposal submitted in response to RFQ for physical therapist.
Yes, the recommendation for physical therapy is Advanced Therapy Center.
That's who's recommended.
So moved.
We have motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item K, request to approve proposal submitted in response to RFQ for occupational therapist. Mr. Costas?
It's the recommendation is to approve Believe in Care.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item L, request to approve
Is it L?
proposal submitted in response to RFQ for licensed specialist in school psychology.
Yes, the recommendation from the administration is to recommend Dr. Ramos.
Okay. Move.
We have a motion for approval.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item L, adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Motion, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The time is 8:36 p.m. This meeting is now adjourned.